Howdy friends, my name is Paul Sherland. One of the video viewers recently made a comment that Mason, my gray horse, doesn't respect my space. And that may have been due to Mason moving around on the lead rope or maybe tried to remove my phone from my belt pouch, or maybe tried to nibble on my shirt. He may have tried to pick up the lead rope from my hand, because he sometimes does that. But what that viewer described as not respecting my space, I regard as playfulness. Did I try to discourage Mason's playfulness? No, I didn't. It makes me laugh. And laughter is something we all need nowadays. I've owned 12 horses in my life, and I would only describe 2 of them as being playful. The first one was a horse I had when I was 12 years old, and he would reach around and nip me in the butt when I was picking a front hoof. Did he hurt me? No. And when I put us both in some bad situations, he kept me safe. One time I had adjusted the offside girth and had forgotten to fasten it again. We went off on a trail ride, and about 10 minutes later, I fell off the horse, the saddle slid under his belly, and I landed under the horse's belly. And what happened? He stood there. He just stood there while I picked myself up and set the saddle back up on his back and tightened the girth. Another time, I made the mistake of riding along a train track thinking that a train would not come. Well, you can guess what happened. A train came. And the engineer didn't slow the train down. The engineer was blowing his horn. There was no place to go because there was a solid fence on the other side of the track. We were between the fence and the track, so there was no place to go. I got off of my horse. I held him there while the train roared past, the horn blaring. The engineer seemed to want to make my horse stampede. And I'll never forget standing there next to my horse and watching him tremble while I held those reins, but he didn't move. And that was the playful horse. You might be thinking, he was a kid broke horse, but my father had bought that horse at an auction. He was green broke, and he only turned 3 at about that time. He was not a kid broke horse, but that horse took care of me. That playful horse took care of me. With Mason, he may have been playful, but he was easy and safe to work with. He was courteous in the stall. He would stand still for mounting. It was easy for the vet to work on him during vet visits. It was easy to trim his feet. I never had to really tie him. I just left him loose in the stall. He would step out of my way when I would put his food in his food bowl in the stall. He never pinned his ears at me. He never tried to bite me. He never tried to kick me. He was a safe horse to work with, and that was despite being playful. Another characteristic of Mason was that he would tuck a front leg when he was asking for something. He would stand outside the stall with his leg tucked. Obviously, he was asking to be led into the stall for breakfast. He would, if the food hadn't been placed in his bin in the stall, he would stand there with his leg tucked, asking for food to be placed there. During a riding clinic, stand for the customary photo op, everybody is in a line, everybody's horses are standing straight, and that's except for Mason. Mason would have his leg tucked up tight, as if he were asking for this photo op to be over with so we could do something more interesting. That was Mason. That was his playfulness. That was his character. And he was a great horse in part because of that. When we were returning to the barn from a trail ride, I would dismount, open the gate, lead Mason through, take his bridle off, and he would walk back to the barn right next to me at liberty, all the way back to the barn. Didn't rush back to the barn, didn't go anyplace else. He would just walk back with me to the barn. I refer to Mason in the past tense. His ring bone had gotten a lot worse. He was in a lot of pain despite the medications he was on, and the vet came out yesterday and euthanized him, and his grave is right behind me. True to Mason, as the vet and I were walking him out in the pasture the final time, he was nibbling on my shirt and trying to take my phone from the belt pouch. That was his character, that was his playfulness, and it's a memory I'll always treasure. So did Mason respect my space in the way the viewer meant in his comment? No, he didn't. But he made me laugh countless times. He was safe to be around. He was a character, he was playful, and I was lucky to have him in my life for 15 years. Thanks for the memories, Mason. Yes, Mason. Thank you very much. Good boy.